Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the best schools in the Seattle area. If you are moving to Seattle or Bellevue for a job and you got kids, you're wondering where should we live? You're going to be going the public school route. I want to really dive in because this can make or break your whole experience once you come out here. We have a lot of great schools and we have a lot of not great schools. And so depending on the age of your kids, what their interests are, we want to make sure that they're going to find a school with the resources and the programs that are going to be really a place where they can thrive and be happy. So glad you're here. My name is Emily Cressey. I'm a local real estate agent. So as you get closer to relocating and you want some help finding that great school district and that great house there, I really specialize in helping people who are relocating to the area find something that's going to be a good fit, kind of playing matchmaker amongst the house, the price point that you're looking at, and the school district that you're in, or the neighborhood, all the other amenities, proximity to work, those types of things. So I want to be here to support you through that. And this channel is an extension of that work. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Okay, so the first thing I want to do as we look at schools is to focus just on high schools because these are typically the most prestigious and most important when it comes to high school, college prep and those types of things. And typically in areas where we have a good high school, we're going to have good middle school and elementary schools to feed into that. But after I look at the high schools, you may have younger kids. We'll look a little bit at the younger schools as well. So I'm here at niche.com, which is a great resource. You can look through it yourself. And I'm searching for the best high schools in the Seattle area. And not only do I just want to show you what the schools are, but I want to look at where these are in terms of location. Okay, so the first one is Tesla STEM High School. I've never heard of it, but it seems like it's a big deal. And this is in the Lake Washington School District. This is in the Bellevue School District. This is in the Bellevue School District. These seem like some magnet schools on the east side of the lake. So let's look at where these are on the map. So here's Bellevue, and the Lake Washington School District is here in Kirkland. So these schools are going to be here on the east side of Lake Washington. Okay, then we have Mercer Island High School, which is on Mercer Island, Issaquah High School, which is to the east, and the Highline School District. Issaquah is down here along I-90. So if you cross through Seattle, Mercer Island, and Bellevue, and you go east on I-90, you come over to Issaquah. This is actually a really growing in popularity area. It's pretty nice. It has some expensive homes. You're in the foothills of these mountains. So you have Tiger Mountain, you have a golf course out here. You do get some rain and mist from the water coming off Puget Sound and getting trapped by these mountains. But this is a pretty popular area to live in, pretty high rent district. You can drive into Bellevue pretty easily. And if you need to go over to Seattle, you can do that too. So not a bad commute, and some expensive property here in Issaquah. The other one was Mercer Island. All of Mercer Island is a high rent district. This is an expensive place to live. Not only does it have great schools, but it has a really great commute. I-90, you can pop over to Seattle or you could pop over to Bellevue. So no matter where you work or if you work in both places, you can be really close to those high-powered jobs. And I-90 is free to use. 520 up here is a similar bridge, but they've started charging a toll on it. So that's, if you had to do one, I-90 is a nice, cheap, free one to have. This one, Raisbeck High School, is for aviation. It's for teaching people how to fly airplanes. And so I think I've been there. It's down here in South Seattle. And South Seattle is typically not known for having such good schools, but that's a kind of magnet school for a very specific purpose. So that's great if you're an aspiring pilot. We have Boeing here. We have SeaTac International Airport. We have a lot of different places to fly planes for hobby pilots as well. Renton has its own municipal airport. Kenmore Air, they have float planes that fly out of Lake Washington and Lake Union. Anyway, if you're a pilot, that's really cool. I won't digress too much. Okay, so now we have Redmond High School in the Lake Washington School District, presumably in Redmond, Sammamish High School, East Lake High School, and another Issaquah High School. So going back to the map, Redmond, oh, there it is. It's showing up right here. So again, Lake Washington High School area, Bellevue High School area, Issaquah High School area. We're getting a lot of these schools concentrating on the east side of the lake. The first one to not be on the north side, the east side of the lake, is North Creek High School, which is in the North Shore School District. So for those who cannot afford the east side of the lake, this is pretty much the most expensive real estate in the state of Washington. We've got, Bill Gates' $40 million mansion out here in Medina. So this is the most kind of this little area right here by 520 Mercer Island. This little enclave is pretty much the most expensive real estate in the state. We do have other mansions and things in Edmonds Woodway area and on Puget Sound and the Highlands and Broadmoor, these gated communities, Windermere, Laurelhurst. We have other multi-million-dollar luxury communities, Capitol Hill, Queen Anne, West Seattle. There's so much water that anytime you're by water, you tend to have kind of the more expensive homes. I'm not saying that these are the only expensive homes, but there's a high concentration of expensive homes right here and really good public schools all throughout this area. But the problem is that a lot of people can't afford to live there because it's so expensive. So the next best thing is Bothell, which is where the North Shore School District is, kind of in this area, Bothell, Kenmore over here. And this still has really good commuter access to Bellevue. It's a little bit tough to get over to Seattle from here. This little road is Highway 522. I drive across here a lot, taking my kids back and forth to school. And it's about a 20-minute drive from here to 405. Depending on traffic, it could be longer or shorter. But if you have to do that, plus then go from here to the freeway, plus then go in, it's going to take you at least an hour probably to get into the city of Seattle. So if you're going to Seattle, that would be a tough one to do. And it might almost make more sense to come down here and go across the toll bridge and go down. We're working on more light rail expansion and that type of thing. But most of these schools thus far have better access to Bellevue than they do to the city of Seattle itself. And that's because Bellevue is more expensive, nicer, cleaner, and has better schools on the east side of the lake there. So let's look at what's on the Seattle side. And you can see that this one only has 3.5 stars instead of 4.5 or whatever the top ones were. So we have Garfield High School in Seattle, Roosevelt High School in Seattle. That's where my mom went. These are like the classic Seattle schools that have been there forever. We have another one for Bellevue, another one for Issaquah, North Shore School District. Oh, and here's Kamiak and Mukilteo. That's a really good school as well. Okay, so here's Garfield High School, and this is going to be in view of downtown Seattle. So I just went to my daughter's soccer game over in this area. She had a beautiful park right next to the light rail, looking out over downtown Seattle. So this is a very urban area. You're going to have, sidewalks and foot traffic, and this is Capitol Hill. This is an area where you're going to feel like you're in the city, but it does start to get a little bit more suburban. Like once you crest the hill, you're going up Capitol Hill and then you go down toward the water. So once you start going down, it's not quite as busy, a little more residential feeling. And here's Roosevelt High School. So before we were down here at Garfield, here's Roosevelt, kind of by the Windermere, Laurelhurst area. This is where the University of Washington is. This is where Children's Hospital is. So there are a lot of very well-educated people working in this area and presumably wanting to live in this area. So Roosevelt is right there. It has a cool old historic building, and those are a lot of the people who live. I used to go to church right in this area. Maple Leaf is up there. Anyway, so Roosevelt and Garfield are two of Seattle's best and also long-standing, well-known high schools. The next one that they had was Kamiak, which is up here in Mukilteo. So right by this little airport here, Payne Field. So look where we are now. Before we were looking down in Seattle, and now we're up here. So we've gone up the freeway out of King County into Snohomish County. We're almost in Everett. So this is pretty far north, but it is This is I-5. The I-5 freeway is right here. Oh, there's Papa Murphy's. Okay, it's I-5, I-5. And then this is a little offshoot spur called the Mukilteo Speedway. And so this is kind of like a big arterial road. And this whole area feels very accessible by the Mukilteo Speedway, but also remote. Like there's not a lot else out here besides Boeing and housing stuff. So all the restaurants and all the shops are kind of on this 525. And so Kamiak has a great reputation, and there are a lot of pilots and engineers and Boeing people who live up here in this area because it's pretty close to the Boeing factory that's up in Everett. I have a friend who works at that Boeing, and he said it was the biggest indoor building. It was like a self-contained building, one of these hangars where they build all of the planes, and it actually had its own weather system. So like depending on changes in humidity and the temperature within the building, they could get like clouds and rain. So a lot of people work there at Boeing, and some real smart people too, and they like being here in these hills. There's like views out of Puget Sound. There are a lot of golf courses out here. There's a ferry that goes up here to your vacation house on Whidbey Island. So anyway, Kamiak is well regarded. We had friends. The dad was a retired 747 pilot, and he used to live down here in Lake Forest Park. And then he retired up here and did some consulting for Boeing and things like that. We've got the Lake Washington School District, again on the east side of Lake Washington in the Kirkland area. And then we've got a school in Everett, which is great, Cleveland High School STEM program, and Shorecrest High School. Shorecrest is where I went to high school for one class. I went to a private school for high school, but I did go to one class. And Shorecrest is here in the Shoreline area. I live over here in Lake Forest Park. So that was my neighborhood high school. I'm glad to see it's on the list. Everett is up here, again, close to Boeing. For whatever reason, they've also got a naval station out here. Everett just doesn't seem as nice as it should be. They have a lot of older historic buildings. They have a nice walkable older downtown, but there just seems to be a little bit more drug stuff going on in this area. And one appraiser told me when, everything was going crazy and prices were going up so fast, he was like, they seem to have bypassed Everett. So yeah, that's interesting. And you can see with Everett, there's this green space. This is kind of like a floodplain around this river. They've got some sloughs. They've had some farms here that they then flooded. Like the city did some, I don't know if it was the city or the Army Corps of Engineers or whom, but they're kind of restoring this wetlands area a little bit. So Everett feels they've got a prison there. It's not as expensive. There are certainly some nice suburbs and some nice historic homes and $1 million properties and all of that. But this is a more affordable area if that's something that you need. So anyway, those are kind of some of the places. Here's the Shorewood, also in Shoreline, Ingram. So we're kind of getting into North Seattle now. So 2 schools in the Shoreline School District. They only have 2 high schools. Ingram is around here. Maybe that's another one. So you've got options. There are a lot of options. The best schools are on the east side, but this is also extremely expensive. And so you've got Shoreline, you've got Kamiak, you've got some in Seattle. Most places that you want to live, you're going to be able to find a good school. If you're locating around the best schools specifically, I think these are some good places to start. Another resource that you can go to, you may already be familiar with this, but this is where a lot of the aggregate sites get their information from. So like if you've ever looked up a house online and it said, oh, it has, great schools there, this is where they're getting it. We as realtors need to be careful from like a fair housing perspective of how we characterize different neighborhoods. So sometimes we have to refer you to these websites to do your own research on a case-by-case basis. But what I'm looking at is greatschools.org. I'm looking at Seattle, Washington, and I'm just selecting for high schools. So some of these others might be middle schools and things like that. And so you can see here where the best rated high schools are. So we've got Ravenna. This is, again, by Laurelhurst and Windermere, the University of Washington area. We've got Fremont. We've got Ballard. Ballard is kind of pretty far west toward the water. This was originally like settled by Scandinavian fisher folk, and some of them still have boats and they go up to Alaska to go like fishing and getting crabs and deadliest catch type of stuff. I guess you can make a lot of money in a few months and then come back and you don't have to work a 9 to 5 kind of a thing. So these are some other areas where you could be looking for good high schools. Queen Anne, this is a big hill, a lot of historic Victorian homes in this area, really cool area, great proximity to downtown Seattle, great views of the water and the city skyline and those types of things. This is Capitol Hill. We did see a really good rated, I wonder if it's tucked under here. We saw a good high school on the niche.com that's not showing up here right now. And then we have some lower ranked high schools right here south of I-90. Here's a higher ranked one over, this is called West Seattle, this kind of knob over here. We've got a lot of industrial stuff going with trains. This is an international seaport. Boats and barges from China come in here and unload. They've got these big orange cranes that look like dinosaurs. It's very cool. Kind of, but you have to drive through this industrial area. So you kind of come out here on the West Seattle Bridge. And then down here is Lincoln Park. There's a ferry that goes across. And then we've got all this beach, Alki Point, the lighthouse. There's a little ferry that goes back and forth to downtown Seattle. So you could work here and then take this $5 ferry over here, walk off. It's a passenger only, no cars. You could just pop off. You're in like by Pike Place Market and that type of thing. And you can just walk to work from there. Pike Place might be a little farther north by Belltown. But you're on the docks, you're on the piers, take a little Uber or bus or something to get to your job or walk it. Downtown Seattle is pretty walkable, but there are a lot of hills, so your legs are going to be in fabulous shape. But anyway, this kind of gives you an idea, and it's a good place to go, especially if you're looking at homes in a certain neighborhood, you've kind of assessed that that's where you're going to afford to live. Then you can go accordingly. So here I looked up the east side. This is Bellevue, the Bellevue side. So you can see Tens on Mercer Island, Bellevue, Kirkland up here, Redmond. You can look up any cities and kind of get an idea for where the schools are. And then if you wanted to change, so I did say we would look at some middle schools. I don't know if middle schools are harder to rank well or what. I tend not to see as many 10s. It's usually 6th, 7th, and 8th grade here in this area, I think is what they're doing right now. And then take a look also at elementary. So Medina, like I said, right here, that's where Bill Gates' house is. So fancy, lots more schools and more kind of middle ground schools, but still some real winners and, probably not too bad. You could survive this until you go up into the nicer schools. So when you are evaluating schools, one more thing to keep in mind is what is the schedule of the school? Because we have had in our area, I know this is the case in Shoreline, and you might want to check with the school district where you end up, because a lot of the schools are doing this thing where there's a half day on Wednesdays. So instead of just having your kid be in school from like 8 to 2 or 9 to 3 every day, they're only in there from like 9 to 11:30 or something. And so then I don't know how that's supposed to work for people who have a job. I think you have to go and put them in childcare or just bus them and then they're home by themselves for the day. I don't like it at all. I find it frustrating and ridiculous. So that's kind of a problem in my mind with some of the school districts out here, but I would call and figure out what you're going to do about that. I'm sure there are a lot of after-school childcare programs that are set up to accommodate it, but it was a frustration when I found out about it. Fortunately, I was homeschooling my kids at the time, and they go now to a private school where that is not the case, but it's something to be aware of. There are a lot of great private schools in the area. Maybe I'll do a separate show about that at some point, but pretty much I expect most of the private schools are very good. There's been a lot of demand since COVID for more private schools. I think when everyone was like seeing what their kids were actually doing on the videos and like, oh, this is a waste of time or something, there seemed to be a big uptick in the number of people that switched over to private schools. So there are great private schools all over the place, girls' schools, boys' schools, Catholic schools, non-denominational schools. This is a fairly secular area, not overly religious, so it's not predominated by tons of religious schools. I know we go to a Christian school, and they play other schools like Seventh-day Adventist school. I think there might be some Sikh or Indian religion types of schools. So there are a lot of different options. And so if you're not going the public school route, take a look at the private schools that you think might be of most interest. Some of the big names are Bush, which is in Seattle. So it's a little bit south of 520. The Bush School over here. There's Lakeside up here at 145th and Aurora or I-5. There's University Preparatory Academy, which is down kind of the Maple Leaf, North Seattle area. Bishop Blanchette Catholic School, which is here by Green Lake. There's O'Day, which I think is farther downtown. That's a boys-only school. There are some Waldorf schools down here in Seattle as well. So there are a lot of good options all over. There are definitely some big names. And I think if you find one, there's Evergreen School for the Gifted, which is also in the Shoreline area. I tend to know the ones closer to my house. There are a number of Catholic schools. St. Luke Catholic School, K through 8 is over here. King's Christian School is pretty well regarded. They have a great sports program. They have a robotics program. So there are a lot of different great private schools. And in that case, I would just find the best one in your area that you loved. Try, 3 or 4 and see what you like. That's it for schools on this video. I would love to talk with you more about this and go more in depth and share my personal opinions on everything, but I don't want to make it too long and boring for you. So let's wrap this video up. Reach out to me directly through my website, HomeProAssociates.com. I'll put a link in the comments. You can also text the word home, HOME, to 206-578-3438. Text me the word home to get started with your interest in buying a home. And I'm looking forward to talking with you. I'm happy to help answer your questions, whether you're moving in a year or next week or whatever the case might be. I'm here to help you kind of all the way through the process. So don't hesitate to reach out. And until then, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Hi, and thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm your realtor, Emily Cressey with HomeProAssociates.com. If you're here in Seattle and you're looking for tips on buying, selling, or investing in real estate, or you just want to stay updated on the latest market trends, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We regularly post market updates, neighborhood tours, and buyer and seller tips so you can stay educated when it comes to the Seattle lifestyle and your buying and selling options here. And if you're ready to take the next step in your real estate journey, visit me online at HomeProAssociates.com or text me the word home to my cell phone, 206-245-8813. I'm here to help you find the perfect property or sell your home quickly and easily. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Until then, I'll see you on the next video.